Today we're going to look at creative coding within BrainPOP. To get to BrainPOP, we want to start with ClassLink Launchpad. On ClassLink Launchpad, you'll find the BrainPOP SSO, which is the single sign-on for BrainPOP. This is going to link BrainPOP to your Google account. So if you're logged into your Google account, when you click on the BrainPOP SSO, it will take you directly into your BrainPOP account. And this is the same for BrainPOP Junior. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my BrainPOP account. And today we're going to start with the video on Ada Lovelace. Ada Lovelace was considered one of the first computer programmers, so appropriate for a creative coding demo today. I'm going to go ahead and go into the Ada Lovelace options here. We've already watched the movie, so we're going to go into creative coding. I have several different options for projects in creative coding. If you want to see some examples, you feel free to look in there. With using Scratch, there are 3 choices: the museum, story, and game. And then there are more options using VidCode. VidCode is a programming language using Java. So for our more advanced coders, this would be a great opportunity for them to show what they can do with VidCode. But we're going to start off with what I think is the easiest, which is the museum. And it's going to take us into the Ada Lovelace part of creative coding. So that means it's going to hook up all of the images that come from that creative coding video. So on the left-hand side, this is where I'm going to have my blocks. Scratch is known for having blockly coding. So my blocks are here. I'm going to keep clicking Show More till that's no longer active. And now I have all my blocks over here on the left. This middle area is my workspace. I'll be dragging blocks into my workspace. Over here in the upper right corner is my museum. So this is where I have Annie and I have Moby in there. And down below is where I can work with my backdrops and my sprites. So I have different backdrops I can choose. Right now, this is the museum with 2 shelves. But if I click on backdrops, there are going to be a lot more choices once I click add here. There are a lot more choices of backdrops. A lot of the museum ones are down on the bottom, but I'm going to do this fun museum 3-frame backdrop for me. So I'm going to look for 3 different images to go in these frames because it's a museum. And what I'm going to look for is 3 different parts of Ada Lovelace's life to put in there. So these are, I'm in the backdrops right here. So I'm going to click back over to the sprites and I see all my Scratch blocks are on the left. My workspace in the middle is empty. And I have Moby is highlighted. So whichever sprite is highlighted, that's the sprite I'll be coding. If I click on Annie, Annie already has some code. So Annie is in our museum and she's introducing the museum to everyone. So when I start by clicking the green flag up here at the top, Annie will say, "Welcome to my museum," and those words will appear for 2 seconds. And then when those words disappear, she'll say, "Click on any item to learn more about it," and those words will appear for 4 seconds. Now, I want to make sure people understand that when I say it's a say block, it is in text. So it's not verbalizing anything here. She's not going to actually say those words, but instead, when I click on that green flag, you see the speech bubble pop up, and then it says how long that speech bubble will stay active there. So Annie's all coded for us, so I don't need to do anything with her, but I'm going to come over to Moby, and we are going to do some quick code for Moby. So I'm going to start because Annie says when you click on the sprite, that'll tell you something. So I want to start with the block that says when this sprite is clicked. And then I would usually drag out a say block, but Moby doesn't talk. Moby makes the beeping sound. So I'm going to pull out a play sound block. Notice how they snap right in there, kind of like Lego bricks snap together. So it says play sound, BrainPOP, pop until done. So I'm going to click here, and instead of the BrainPOP pop, I have an option for a Moby beep. So I'm going to choose that. Play the sound Moby beep when that sprite is clicked. So if I come over here and click on Moby, you'll hear him beep. So there we go. And that's all Moby says. So that's all I'm going to do for right now with Moby. And instead, I'm going to get started by adding some more Ava Lovelace sprites. So when I click on add, it takes me into all of those sprites, just like we might see with Make a Movie or the Make a Map features. All of these sprites are available. I'm going to start with this one here because this is Ada as a little girl with her mom and her dad. I'm going to put that in, I think I'm going to put that over here on the right side for now. So that picture is a little bit too big for that frame, I think. So if I come down a little bit, I can adjust the size. So I'm going to change it from 40 to 30, and it fits a little bit nicer in that picture frame for me. My Ada and family is still highlighted in blue right here. So I'm going to continue coding that sprite. I'm going to start with the same start block that says when this sprite is clicked. And this time I am going to bring out a say block, and I'm going to have her family talking. And I'm going to introduce Ada. And so maybe I'll be the voice of her mom. And say when Ada was a baby, her father left the family. And I can decide how long that's going to stay there. I think that might need to be there for more than 2 seconds. So I think I'm going to choose 4 seconds so that that sprite will stay there for the 4 seconds. All right, I'm going to grab another sprite. So I've got my information there. I'm going to choose Ada as a child because we found out in the movie that when Ada was a child, she was very sick. So I'm going to change this also to 30 to make that picture of her sick and in her bed a little bit better. So I'm going to move Moby over a little bit so we can see that picture of Ada. So notice when I clicked on Moby to move him, that is his code popped up. So then when I click back on the picture of Ada, I'm going back into being able to code Ada. All right, so I'm going to bring out the when this sprite clicked, and I'm going to bring out a say block. And again, see how they snap right together there. So I'm going to have Ada say, when I was young, I was very sick for a year. All right, change that to maybe 4 seconds. But this time I'm going to do some more fun stuff with Ada in this picture here. All right, I am going to have this change size. So I've got the when sprite clicked, but I'm going to have it change size by 10 and snap that in there. So that means when I click on her, she's going to say when I was young, I was very sick for a year, and then the picture's going to get bigger. But I kind of want it to look almost like a growing and shrinking picture. So when I make it bigger by 10, this is a great opportunity for you to talk to the students about, making a positive number to make it bigger, and then we're going to use a negative number to make it smaller. So I'm going to use that it's going to change size by 10 and then change size by -10. So we're going to show you what this looks like. I'm going to click on my sprite. There she says, when I was young, I was very sick for a year. And then after that, it went up by 10 and down by 10. Problem is, it went so fast you didn't even see it. So what I need to do is I need to put a wait block right in between these. So it's going to have it get bigger, and then in 1 second, it'll then get smaller again. So we're going to click on that sprite. When I was young, I was very sick for a year, and then it's bigger and then smaller. Now I can pull out a repeat block, and then I can have it, oops, I'm going to pull this down. I didn't quite grab that first one. And if I put a repeat block in there, it's going to do that repeat several times. I'm going to change it from 10, we're going to have it repeat 3 times. So it's going to get bigger, wait, then get smaller, and then get bigger and smaller. I'll do that 3 times. So let's click on here. There we have our say block up here, and then it gets bigger and smaller. That's kind of awkward because it jumps in there. So let's try putting another wait block in. So it gets bigger by 10 and then waits a second, and then gets smaller by 10 and then it waits a second, and then it gets bigger again. So this might be a little more smooth. Oops, click on our sprite there. So there's our say block, and then have her get bigger, smaller, bigger, smaller, and then the last time, bigger and smaller. So that's a little bit more smooth. So we not only gave our information about her in here, but we also had it do something fun. I think I'm going to add another say block at the end after this repeat and say, I read a lot and became interested in math while I was in bed. As I told us a little bit about that in the movie, that she had a lot of time to read when she was homesick in bed for that year. So it's, we'll add that onto the end. So I click on there. There's my first say block, and then that's going to go away. And then she's going to do the bigger and smaller thing. And then another say block is going to pop up at the end. Now, one of the things I tell the students is when you put those say blocks in there, if you can't get that whole thing read in the amount of time that it shows, then you should keep experimenting and see how long you should have it in there. You don't want to have the words up there so long that people lose interest and get bored, but you definitely want to give your audience enough time to read the entire say block. And 2 seconds just wasn't quite enough. So that's a good way to experiment. All right, so we've got one more picture here. So I'm going to come back down to my sprites and I'm going to add another sprite. This time I'm going to add that picture of Ada Lovelace as an adult. This one's a little bit bigger also. I'm going to change that size down a little bit so that it's more appropriate in that picture frame. And now I still have Ada Lovelace outlined in blue, so I'm going to be coding her. I'm going to bring out the when this sprite clicked. I'm going to bring out a say block, and I'm going to say, from her perspective, I became very interested in math and computation. Oops. All right, so we'll just get a little bit kind of an introduction there. There are more fun things that you can do if we scroll down with the blocks. So we already had the change size, we had the weight, we had the repeat in here, we had some sounds in here. We can do a turning block, so turning 15 degrees. So if you're using some if working with upper elementary math students, this is really great. If we want to say there's 360 degrees in a circle, so let's say we want this to turn in a full circle. So if it's going to repeat 10 times, 360 divided by 10, let's change this to 36. So now when I click on Ada Lovelace, she'll give us her sentence, and then it's going to repeat that circle. And she should repeat 10 times the moving of 36 degrees. So we'll click on this and hear her sentence, and she did one complete circle. Now, if you really want to get crazy, you could even bring another repeat around that repeat. And let's say, because repeating 10 times, moving 36 degrees is one 360 degree circle. So let's say we're going to make that repeat 3 times. We now should have 3 complete circles. So let's see what happens here. So there she did. She went 3 complete circles with this repeat. So we have a repeat that is repeating. So the students can have a lot of fun with these different features in creative coding. There are lots of opportunities for them to experiment. They can use the hide and show blocks. Again, they'll experiment and realize that they need to put in some weight blocks in there so that when they hide, they can have it disappear. One of the sprites disappear for a second or several seconds and then reappear and maybe say something. But there's lots of opportunity for experimenting with our code here. So I hope you enjoy using creative coding with your students. If you have any questions, please reach out to your library media specialist or your tech integrator, and they will be able to help you learn more about BrainPOP and creative coding.